In 2012, a law was passed in Russia banning gay pride marches in Moscow for 100 years. But further laws banning gay propaganda and the focus on LGBT athletes attending the Sochi Winter Games in 2014 brought wider attention to the atrocities facing the LGBT community in Russia, with protests being staged in London and many other cities. In 2006, Moscow's first Gay Pride March was held, with many gay rights activists from other countries, including the UK, in attendance.
I first got involved in going to Moscow LGBT Pride when I was approached by activists there who said that it was very important to get international campaigners to join them, partly to perhaps make the authorities in Moscow less violent and repressive, and partly to draw international media attention, because that's the one thing the Russian government really hate. They hate the fact that their human rights abuses are being played out in the media around the world. So it's sort of like an insurance policy. I remember going to the first ever attempted Moscow Gay Pride in 2006. It was a very, very scary occasion. Already, before we even tried to march, the mayor of Moscow had issued an ultimatum that the march was banned and that anybody who tried to march would be arrested. So we knew there was a danger of arrest. But we'd also heard about menacing threats from neo-Nazis, ultranationalists and extremists within the Russian Orthodox Church who were threatening to come and bash anybody who dared to try and march. So it was the combination of the fear of state repression and homophobic vigilante violence. And all those fears came true. I can remember when we arrived just by Red Square, by the Kremlin, there was a group of maybe 200 or 300 homophobic extremists waiting for us. Yet somehow, the handful of us, maybe there were 20 or 30 of us at the maximum, we just marched straight into the middle to claim our queer space by the tomb of the unknown soldier, where we wanted to lay a wreath. And we were set upon by, on the one side, a phalanx of neo-Nazis and ultranationalists, on the other side by a phalanx of riot police. We were beaten, bashed and arrested. It was a truly shocking experience to think that Russia had gone backwards so badly compared to the relatively liberal period of the early 1990s.
Peter Tatchell had just finished giving interviews. His attacker appeared from behind the line of journalists, seemingly unconcerned by the dozens of cameras and potential witnesses. He was then dragged away by the police.
But what is it like for LGBT people to grow up in Russia today? We contacted Anna Koopeva, a young gay rights activist living in St. Petersburg.
I'm transgender and I'm a lesbian. I know that most of Russia will never be my friend. It's the reason why almost all of my friends are LGBT. Yes, I fear arrest or violence. I was at a psychiatric hospital because one doctor found out that I think of myself as a girl. Only the familiar in a mental system could help me get out of there. I write on the internet, so it's propaganda of homosexuality and transgenderism. I'm talking with you about Russia and tell you about it as a horrible country. And the opinion of the people is changing for the worse. Official polls show a sharp deterioration in people's opinions. And who knows what will happen in the future? Something like the Jews in Nazi Germany. In Russia, the majority of people support the creation of a new, strong Russia. They are nostalgic for Stalin and the Russian Tsar. The source of all their troubles they call liberalism. It sounds very bad, and the reality is even worse. Almost all people in Russia don't see anything wrong with the current situation of LGBT rights in Russia, but they believe the problem with the propaganda of homosexuality as the weapon of Western countries, conspiracy of the enemies of Russia. When you think about these facts, it turns out that the common Russian people, for the promise of a strong state, may allow the Russian state to do any action against LGBT people, including imprisonment, or something worse.